Welcome everybody to today's Two State Show with myself, Mark C, and my co-host Mark H. Hi Mark, how you doing?
Yeah, a bit of an indifferent week, but yeah, I'm doing all right. Unfortunately, it would seem that after the euphoria of Saturday and getting into the next round of the FA Cup, which I'm of that generation where it's still important and it's still relevant.
Absolutely.
And, thankfully Arsenal were generous enough and they handed us the tie.
Yep.
But of course, as we knew when we looked at the team sheets on Saturday, we knew that it was definitely not going to be the case on Tuesday night, and so it was.
Yeah, they took the mickey in the cup a little bit, putting out that weekend team, and it cost them. But they certainly learned from that.
on a hopefully a brighter note, I hope everybody who's either listening to the pod or listening to the radio show are looking after each other and making sure that everybody is safe and well. Absolutely
right. And just remind you all, obviously, we're on the Two State Show every Thursday, 1 till 3 p.m. on Fiesta 95 FM with myself and Mark H. And also, don't forget, you can contact us via the Two States podcast show at outlook.com, which is our show email address. It's obviously for the radio show and the podcast. So feel free to drop us a line there. Let us know about anything you'd like to see in the show, about the content we're putting out, if you're enjoying it, anything you'd like to see, anything you're not happy about, positive or negative. We enjoyed the feedback, and obviously we can't do the show without you. So, coming up in the first half today, we have the Two Saints review of Saints 1, Arsenal 0 in the Cup, and Saints 1, Arsenal 3 in the League.
It's Mark C and Mark H. Mark my word, they're here with everything in the Two Saints Show.
So, starting with the Two Saints review of Saints 1, Arsenal 0 in the FA Cup 4th round. So, pretty much almost a full-strength team, or as strong as Rav could make it, Mark, given the injuries we've got. And not a very strong Arsenal team, so you're kind of thinking before the game, oh yeah, it's quite up for it. We're going to have a good chance here. And the players were actually up for it, weren't they?
Oh, 100%. It was a good opportunity, given the team that Arsenal had put out as well.
Yeah.
It was a great opportunity for us to not just lay down a marker, but turn around and get ourselves into the next round of the Cup. I mean, obviously you don't have the magic because you already know who you're playing in the next round. But
where is that?
The thing is they've given themselves now. I know we're reviewing the game, but the thing to mention is they've given themselves a great opportunity of even getting to the quarterfinals, given that Wolves' form at the minute, isn't particularly great. So. Let's see what gives on I think it's the 10th of Feb or the 9th of Feb.
Yeah, and I thought again, it was one of those games where it was a fully committed performance. All the players on the pitch did their part. They were all fully committed, putting in a strong performance, very committed performance. Probably not the most swashbuckling on the ball or off it, but got the job done, didn't they? Diallo had another good game. They all seemed to be sort of up for it, and they were all on their game. They all played fairly well. Obviously, Ralph held the fact it was a committed performance, and James Ward-Prowse said the belief was strong. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly say when this team are in full flow, when they're playing, they're capable of beating anybody, aren't they? A bit like Koeman's team a few years back. But obviously, we do concede those silly goals again, don't we? Sometimes, thankfully, not on this occasion. Committed, strong performance, got past Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say, Mark, is it kind of mirrors the season, because normally, it's a good omen if Saints go in front early doors, right? Because normally if they go in front early doors, they don't normally sort of concede too many. I mean, the only time we've seen it this season is really Manchester United. Yep. And obviously we're going to come on to Tuesday night in a minute. But all I would say is when we have tended to go into the lead early doors, we've tended to come out of the game more often than not with the 3 points, So as soon as the ball hit the back of the net on Saturday, the onus really was on Arsenal then to come out and sort of attack the game. Unfortunately, because for whatever reasons, and Arsenal had decided that they weren't weren't playing a full strength team, and they didn't have some of the options even from the bench. So it was. I just felt we dealt with what we needed to deal with very comfortably. They worked well as a unit. They worked together, and it was at the end of the day, it was job done on the Saturday.
Yeah, let's not forget as well. I mean, Saints almost took lead after 5 minutes. James Ward-Prowse put in one of the greatest corners I've seen in I don't know how long. Somehow or other, I don't know how he did it. He curves it in off the outside of his right foot and it deflects off the crossbar. How and it's not gone in, I don't know. But I've never seen a corner driven in like that. So he kind of drives it in off the outside of his right foot, doesn't he? And it comes off the crossbar and left everyone stranded. And cool, at that point you're thinking, blimey, if that had gone in, what an opener that would have been. That was
definitely
5 minutes in, obviously, and then Carl Walker-Peters gets a lucky deflection for Carl Walker-Peters, wasn't it?
It was reminiscent of Jason Dodd's corner against Portsmouth a few years back, but it was reminiscent of that because, like you say, it looked like it was going in, and it was unlucky that it didn't. I think there were other efforts that we had where Shea Adams, he brilliant run really. All of his own making, unfortunate just to see it go wide of the.
I don't think he could have done more, could he? He ran onto it, created the opportunity, hit it really well, to be fair.
Yeah.
And Leno, although he got his hand to it, he did struggle to get his hand to that, actually, to be fair. Yeah. It was a good save in the end.
I thought it was kind of curling away from the goal, personally, myself. But, got his hand to it. He was unlucky because, like you say, the thing with something like that was he created the opportunity all of himself, and it was just basically that he went on the burst,
Yeah,
it was just unlucky. I mean, obviously the downside was Ryan Bertram getting himself booked again, and obviously then that counted him out of Tuesday night's game.
That's right. Yeah, but and talking of bursts, I mean, for me, challenge of the game, Ibrahima Diallo starts his run in the Arsenal half, catches Nicolas Pepe, who's already in the Saints half at full pace, okay? So Diallo not only makes up all that ground on him, catches Nicolas Pepe, does him for pace and gets the ball off him. And Diallo must have been 60, 70 yards away before he even starts the run. Pepe's already in the Saints half at full speed. Diallo just comes from nowhere to tackle him. Yeah. And for me, tackle of the game, and for me, that was Ibrahima Diallo to an absolute T. I mean, blimey, I've never seen a midfielder that quick, Mark. Scintillating pace from Diallo. Fantastic tackle as well. And I tell you something now, if nothing else, they've found an absolute gem there, Saints, haven't they? Given his age, 21 years old. Wow.
When you look
I'm not going to get too carried away, but blimey. When
you look at what Pepe actually cost Arsenal compared to what Diallo cost Southampton, in that sort of midfield duel, if you like. I mean, one thing that did baffle me, right? And he came off the bench at the start of the second half.
Yeah.
And that was Thomas Petrie. I don't understand why he didn't start the game because he was excellent for Arsenal in that second half, and obviously he played, the whole 90 minutes of the Tuesday game. So.
Well, the one thing I picked up on Thomas Partey was there was a massive warning signal about him for Tuesday's game in the fact that when he came on, that transition that Saints were getting from defending to attack, which was quite fluent and quite quick, he almost stopped that completely dead in its tracks.
He shut it down.
And he did it on Tuesday as well. So the Saints transitions on Tuesday didn't happen because Partey did exactly what he did against us in the Cup, and he nullified it. And the warning sign was there on Saturday about that because that's exactly what he did when he came on. Yeah. He stopped those transitions that Saints were making, and that's part of the reason we struggled second half, to be fair. And and Tuesday he did it again and did it really well. And like you said, I can't understand why he didn't start for them.
Very much so. But as I say, credit where it's due. People put their performance in. There was. I mean, James Ward-Prowse got through a hell of a lot of work. I know we're talking about him every week, but he really did. He got through a hell of a lot of work, and And it was nice to hear him speak after the game and actually say, we do want to sort of do something this season, and maybe winning the cup is on the agenda. It was nice. It was nice to kind of hear that, because the way I kind of look at it, Mark, is I get the thing with the league, and I also turn around and say I want to see us do well in the league, but ultimately, for a team, for a club like Southampton Football Club, realistically, the best chance of actually winning anything, right, is always the FA Cup or the League Cup.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
It's funny because people turn around, I hear all the arguments about, I'm not interested in the FA Cup this year because the crowds, can't, you won't be able to go to the final and all the rest of it. But that's not the point. The thing is like, it's ironic that this year it's the 45th anniversary, of the win. And it would be fitting to see us, during an anniversary year, win the FA Cup, irrespective of whether there's fans in there or not. I mean, boy, I will celebrate like as if I had a newborn. Not that I know about having newborns, but I will be celebrating like crazy if it came to pass that we won the FA Cup, irrespective of whether I'm at Wembley or not.
I'm right there with you. I'll be rising like Lazarus and celebrating like a demon.
Good to know. Good to know.
Anyway, so that brings us to the end of the review of the cup game, and we'll move on shortly to the review of the league game, which was Saints 1, Arsenal 3.
It's the two marks, C&H, on the Two Saints Show, Fiesta 95 FM.
So, Arsenal fight back to clinch victory. Hassan said we gave away goals too easily. Jan Valery says we have to learn and move on. Yep, you're not wrong there, Sherlock. So, gave away goals too easily. Fantastic start, wasn't it? Brilliantly worked training ground routine, straight off the training grounds. Corner to Saints. Ward-Prowse delivers it. Armstrong catches it on the full. Smashes it in the back of the net. 1-0 Saints. You're thinking, here we go. Yeah, it didn't last long, did it, Mark?
I've got to tell you, mate, it wasn't quite like that, because Arsenal had a gilt-edge opportunity. What was it, about 5 minutes before we scored?
Literally a minute gone.
Yeah, I think there was less than a minute gone when the opportunity arose. But having said that, I mean, it was a case of, for me, we went into our shell.
Yep.
They were basically dominating the ball until they equalised, because we looked like we were hemmed in. We're definitely, as soon as we scored, right, we got on the back foot, and I thought, okay, we're looking to defend for a while. Not necessarily an issue with that, but the problem was that when we conceded, right, Saints tried to go back into full press mode.
Yeah. And
that was kind of when we kind of got caught out, because obviously we went looking to take the game to them. I didn't really necessarily have an issue with it, Mark, but unfortunately, we had two full backs, and I know, look, the thing is I'm going to say something here, and this is, and I've spoke to you about this on many an occasion, right? Yep. The sum total of what Saints supporters believe in regards to, our proteges coming through the ranks at the moment, right? They're not that great.
No, they're not.
The prospects are not that great.
No, they're not.
At the moment. Yep. And the thing is like, I mean, I don't like talking about Saints players in a negative sense, okay? Yep. Jan Valery's had a tough time personally. That's obvious, right? But neither him or Jake Vokins know about the art of defending.
I was going to say, for me personally,
they both looked fantastic going forward with
that's
the ball.
exactly what I was going to say, Mark. Going forward, they're both brilliant. They're both fantastic going forward. But defensively, they're woeful defensively. They've got an awful lot to learn defensively. And I'm like you, I don't want to talk about them negatively. Because going forward, they're fantastic, both of them. But yeah, defensively, they've got an awful lot to learn.
It takes something whenever you're taking off your left back, right? You chosen left back for the game, and you're sticking one of your more influential people in the game at left back, and that was Diallo. Now, I'm not saying that he didn't make mistakes, but the thing is in for me, there were 8 passengers and 8 people that were giving it a go, or 3 people, that were giving it a go on Tuesday. The 3 people that were giving it a go, Stuart Armstrong.
Yep.
And it wasn't just because he scored the goal, because when he was getting the ball, he was obviously looking to take the game to them. Bednarek, although, you had a situation obviously where, it's jacking him at the middle, and you've got a rear guard action because you've got 2 full backs that aren't defending. Yep. So you're exposed straight away in that sense. So those were kind of,
they weren't really getting cover from the midfield either, were they? The fullbacks were quite inexperienced defensively. So, you would have thought with slightly less experienced fullbacks, you would have thought the midfielders would have dropped back a little bit to compensate that and help them a little bit. And that didn't really happen, did it? And that kind of complicated matters as well, didn't it? Like you said, as soon as we put the press on, we were exposed. Yeah, and that's also because the midfielders pushed on, and that left the full backs exposed. And Arsenal fully exploited it, didn't they? To be fair,
100%.
I mean, they exploited it that way. They made Cedric Suarez look like a world beater, didn't they?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, hang on, well, we can go that far, But what I would say, Mark, is that and I don't normally sort of praise players from the opposition, but I've got to say, Sacco was. Oh, we were struggling with him all night, and again, yes, you can turn around and say it's the fullbacks again because they were struggling, to deal with. Obviously, he's running from wide positions, but for the age of him, I thought to myself, now there's a player that's definitely below his age, and we talk about Jake Bokins and people like that. We talk about, Callum Slattery, even though he went down alone. I'm talking about in recent years, all these people that came to the floor, right? They're all older than Sacco.
Yeah.
They're all older than Sacco.
Yeah, I mean,
I sit there and I think, if we're talking about level, then fair enough, right? But what we're talking about is people from other academies that are cut above, and yet there are people within our fan base that think all these academy players that are coming through are going to do the business for Saints, and they're just not.
They're not. No,
they're just not.
I agree with you. They're not. No, I think there's a very limited number, if any, that will actually break through and will actually go on and have a successful career at Saints long term, and that's worrying. Regards to Saka, all I'm going to say is if Bukayo Saka doesn't go to the Euros, there's something wrong with that picture because he's an absolute shoo-in for that England team, Mark, I would say. Even given his young age, I'll be amazed if he doesn't get in. He's an absolute shoo-in, in my opinion. But
it's a bit,
how it works with England, it won't happen, will it?
It's a big call, but I wouldn't sort of shout out against it. The other thing that I was going to say was, something that annoyed me during the game was we had the official Kevin Friend officiating. Now, I've got to be honest that normally I'm not one of these Saints fans that has an issue with Kevin Friend. I actually think under normal circumstances he's a good official, right? But last night, mate, I mean, VAR should have been a camera VAR on Lacazette, because every time Lacazette got the ball, he was throwing himself to the ground. throwing himself to the ground without anybody touching. And Kevin
if you're going to dive anywhere, Mark, the thing is, if you're going to dive anywhere, you might as well dive in Southampton, home of Tom Daly, ain't you?
He wasn't diving as such. All he was doing was going down like a sack of spuds. He wasn't even diving. And the thing is, because every time he was going down and Kevin Friend was given the free kick, they kept showing it back on the replays. Score, and you're sort of sat there, you watch the replay, and you're sort of sitting there thinking to yourself, he hasn't been touched there. And it wasn't like it was once or twice. This was serially going on.
Every time anyone got anywhere near him, and he does it all the time. He's become the Jack Grealish of Arsenal. Lacazette.
It was embarrassing, and if Kevin Friend looks back at his performance and the fact that he bought it every time Lacazette was going to ground, he'll be embarrassed by his performance, Kevin Friend will.
To be fair, it's frustrating because I think what it was with some Saints fans, and it's not every Saints fan, there are games when Kevin Friend has refereed for Saints and he's refereed it very well. But I think it was Tottenham when we beat them. But the first half of that game, when Kevin Friend was referee, he gave literally everything to Tottenham. And I'd never seen one half of football so biased towards the top 16 at the time, because they were top 6 at the time. And it was so biased in the first half. And I think that's where that issue with the Saints fans came from. But he has officiated better since then. But as you said, Lacazette was getting away with absolute murder, to be fair. And he did it every single time he got away with it. But, it is what it is. And to be fair, looking at it in reflection, Arsenal probably deserved the win, to be fair. They were the better team. Take nothing away from them. We just weren't at the races, were we? And we have to take it on the chin and get on with it, don't we?
I've said again, off of when we're doing a recording or whatever, I've said to you many, many a time that we need, if we're going to perform, and it doesn't really matter who it is, there needs to be a collective, a collective amongst the players to give their all. Maybe there was a little bit of tiredness, although I don't buy tiredness as an excuse.
I get that.
But the thing is we're also looking for our better players to be at their best, right? And the simple fact of the matter is, and I said this to you the other day, Danny Ings looked like he was looking for a roadmap out of St Mary's. And I'm sorry if that doesn't fit other Saints fans' agenda, but he did. He looked like a man that was lost up front.
The bottom line is, here on the Two Saints show, we don't try and annoy people. We don't try and wind people up or get on their nerves or whatever. We speak from the heart with passion, and we speak the truth. And that's the way we see it. It's honesty, it's truthful, and it's from the heart. So if people don't like that opinion, that's fair enough, but it's our opinion. And everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah.
What I would say is for anybody who's under any illusions about the task that Ralph's been facing, or the task ahead of him, or how good a job Ralph's been doing, you look at our squad at the moment and you look at our team at the moment, and you would say we are probably where we should be in the table, because up until now, when we've got our first team fully fit, we can compete with anyone. Looking beyond that, we struggle. And that's been happening for most of this season. I know Ralph wanted a small squad, and that one's on him. But other than that, it shows the magnitude of what he's done, given the limited resources. And that is going to cause us an issue going forward.
100%. It's like, we discussed this on another show and another pod. But the thing is, Mark, I would love to have seen what Ralph would have been capable of doing with Ronald Koeman's squad, for example.
Absolutely right.
But then, look, the only other thing then I wanted to say was, it's funny because Shea Adams gave himself a similar opportunity to Saturday last night. Again, it was all of his own making. Little bit, I wouldn't say there was as much service into the forwards last night, so obviously that was probably a bit of an issue too, to be fair to Danny Ings. But what I would say is I'm concerned that, if the time comes when Danny Ings is replaced, right, is Shea Adams as the second striker or possibly the lead striker, because we don't know who any potential replacement might be. Is he? I'm back to this thing about, is he plenty of endeavour and everything else, but is he going to score enough goals? The other thing, just very quickly, that I want to say is, and this was telling, because normally, if one of them's having a bad game, the other one has a good game, right? Last night, James Ward-Prowse did not. I don't know whether it was he had a bad game or whether I felt he was playing too deep. Yeah. So he wasn't as effective when he likes to get forward with the ball. And also, I said to you about his passing accuracy wasn't what it normally is, in the fact that there was balls that were going to Arsenal players.
I think he may have felt as captain that it was his job to try and give a little bit more protection to the fullbacks. Now, obviously, that game plan, if that's what it was, didn't work, did it?
Yeah,
and I think that impacted on his game.
And I have to be honest, Mark, I felt that. I felt he wasn't being as adventurous because he did want to give greater support to the fullbacks. So basically, when the fullbacks were going forward, he was trying to cover all the angles. And the other thing that I want to say, and I know this won't necessarily go down well neither, right? And you know where I'm going here, right? The worst performer on the pitch for me was Theo Walcott, right? And I've already got the prayer mats out here in the hope that Saints are not thinking about signing him permanently in the summer. There's the belief at the minute that we're not, Damari Gray's going to go somewhere else because £2 million allegedly is going to be enough for him to move to another club before this window shuts. So that means Saints won't be going in for him, right? So what I'm trying to say is, let's hope that we're not considering bringing in Theo Walcott, because let's put it like this as well, is all right, if it's sensible wages, possibly for some. To me, right, I'm sorry, I still go back to what I said about him before. It's been a career to me that's been unfulfilled from the first time that I seen him make his debut for Saints, and he did look like a hell of a player at the time. And as I say, he must have a fantastic bank balance, but the thing is did he achieve as much as what we thought he was going to be capable of when he first burst on the scene? It's a no for me. And, the honeymoon period, people, is well and truly over.
That's right. Yeah, in my opinion on Theo is he goes back to Everton. End of. But there you go. So, yeah, there you go. That wraps up Saints versus Arsenal in the league. So we're going to take a small break.
Fiesta 95 FM, the Two Saints Show.
Right, welcome back, everybody. So just a couple of little points relating to the Arsenal Saints game that we didn't get to mention just now. For me, the only other thing I'm going to say to it is Alex McCarthy, if you're going to come out and commit yourself to getting the ball, if you're not going to take the ball, clatter the player. You've got to do one or the other, or do all of it. Do the Jordan Pickford goal to school of goalkeeping, and take the lot. Take the player, take the ball, take the man. I don't care if you get a red card. Don't ever do what you did against Arsenal on Tuesday ever again, because it's inexcusable. You came out and you were in the middle of nowhere and you danced a little tango. The only place for a tango is Strictly Come Dancing. It doesn't belong on a football pitch. Anyway, back over to Mark for a couple of little points he wants to make.
So basically, I agree, mate. The problem was he came out and I thought his idea was to come get the ball. Whether he got the ball and the man is neither here nor there. But what he did was he came out and he stopped.
Yeah.
Basically, you can't stop. No. You're either going fully 100% committed, or you're not. And I
actually think it was totally unnecessary, because I watched the highlights, and although Vokins temporarily lost the player, Vokins actually made the ground up on the Arsenal player to cut the angle out. So if McCarthy had actually stayed where he was, it would have been better served, because Vokins did actually close the Arsenal player back down after he got past him.
Yeah, well,
there was actually no need for McCarthy to come out, to be fair.
All I'm saying is he just, the thing is, fair enough if he's going to come out and he's going to make a clear decision. But the problem was he came out and he got to the player and he stopped. He stopped. And the thing was he just would have been better off staying on his goal line and seeing what transpired.
But to be fair, if you watch the highlights back, you'll see that Jake Vokins actually gets back goal side of the player and cuts the angle off.
Yeah. But
So,
anyway,
if McCarthy had been there, he would have saved it.
basically, I'm going to speak about one player in a minute, but I just want to, the thing is you're a great man for the stats, Mark, so let's have a few stats here, right? So 2 goals in the last 7 games. That's the first thing I'll say to you. 2 goals in the last 7 games.
Yep.
And 1 win now in the last 7.
Yep.
Last 7. So, let's not get carried away on a crest of a wave,
We still need at least another 11 points for safety, people. And yes, we are talking about safety because if you look at our last 7 games, that's relegation form. Not worrying anyone, that's relegation form. So if this doesn't change, we're in big trouble because we are going to start sliding down the table.
The last thing that I want to mention, and I don't, as I said, I don't like singling out players and stuff like that. But today is his 27th birthday. Right? He's 27. He was the most senior defender on the pitch last night. Right? And I understand that he's in the ranks of Southampton and he probably will be for a few years yet because he is a squad player. For me, he's a squad player.
I'll say this much.
And if people don't know who I'm talking about Jack Stevens.
And I'll say something about Jack Stevens.
Because people talk about how he's improved, right? Positionally, for me, he struggles as a defender. Positionally,
I'll back up what you're saying. I'll back up what you're saying. I'll also back up the fact that people reckon that Jack Stevens is improved positionally and is improved as a player. All I'm going to say is watch the highlights and look at Jack Stevens in the middle of the screen for the Arsenal goal when every other Saints player is backtracking and trying to get back to mark the Arsenal players. Jack Stevens is walking. He's walking. And he's the only player in the Saints backline that's doing it. That, Jack Stevens, is shameful.
There is sometimes, mate, and I'm gonna be honest about it, right? And the thing is that people mistake Jack's improvement some of the times for his passion that he shows on the pitch. Now, it's easy to show emotion when you've won a game of football that's been vital, right? And when it comes to the photographs, Jack always tends to be at the forefront of those, right? And I get that he's passionate and he probably does care, but do I think he's a Premier League footballer? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't. I think he would do well in a top championship side, but do I think he's Premier League? And the reason why I remarked about he's 27. 27 today is right. He's not the spring chicken that came to us as a 17-year-old. He's not that. And
well, people calling the
10 years, and you sort of sit there and you think to yourself, has he improved significantly enough for people to turn around and say Jack Stevens is a Premier League defender?
Yeah, he's not a Premier League defender, to be fair. He is the I'm trying to think of the guy's name actually, but laugh me, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But anyway, for me, he's they call him the Cornish Maldini. He's not the Cornish Maldini. He's the Southampton Florin Gardos at the moment, to be fair. No offence, Florin, but
not quite as bad as Florin because he's not as
he's definitely not the Cornish he's definitely not the Cornish Maldini. He's more like the Cornish pasty, to be fair.
Anyway, I just thought I'd mention it. He's 27 years of age, and people try to tell me that he's improved. That I'm struggling. He's the most senior. It's ironic that probably your more consistent performer Bednarek, but yet Jack Stevens was our most, experienced defender on the pitch last night.
What I'm going to say is he's potentially 2 years from what would be classed as his peak at 29.
Yeah.
So he ain't going to improve any more than what he's done, everyone. He's got 2 years to improve before he hits his peak.
I mean, all I would say is I'll be happy if he improves in the next 3 weeks because, needs must at the minute, and obviously he's cover for Jan Bednarek. I believe that Jan Bednarek's going to be back second week of Feb, but we'll see. But I just thought I couldn't not mention it that it is his 27th birthday today, and I don't necessarily agree with the sum total of what people think about Jack Stevens.
I agree with that. Right, that brings to an end that section of the pod for today. So coming up in the second half for you, we have Saints transfer gossip and Saints in the press, and the two Saints preview of Saints versus Aston Villa and Manchester United versus Saints. We'll be back after this.
It's the Two Marks, C&H, on the Two Saints Show, Fiesta 95 FM.
Just to remind you all, you can contact us via our email address, the Two Saints Podcast Show at outlook.com, for questions or items you'd like to hear in future shows. You can listen to the radio show on Fiesta 95 FM in Southampton and via onlineradiobox.com. Also, the Two Saints Podcast Show is now available via Spotify, SoundCloud, Overcast, Acast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music and Podbean, or via our Facebook page, The Two Saints Show, and our YouTube channel, The Two Saints Podcast Show. Saints transfer gossip. Everton transfer news. Toffees have joined the race for Southampton's Danny Ings. Leicester City joined the race for Southampton hotshot Ings. Sorry, the frog in my throat there. Premier League winner will reject Crystal Palace in Southampton. So that's Damari Gray has turned down moves to Crystal Palace and Southampton to test himself away from English football, according to The Sun, that ever reliable newspaper. So, Man United's Brandon Williams continues to be targeted by Newcastle and Southampton. And Saints in the press, Stuart Armstrong is cited for Saints' future. Ralph Hasenhüttl confirms that Fraser Forster will remain the Saints' cup keeper. Finance expert says that banks see Saints as high risk. And the last story in that section is how green are Premier League clubs. Tottenham Hotspur actually topped the sustainability table, but obviously we're aware that Saints are involved in that, and Saints currently sit fourth in that table, Mark, for sustainability. Fourth in the table for sustainability. Starting with Danny Ings. Leicester and Everton both linked with him, apparently, despite what Martin Seddon says about the fact that Danny's quite happy where he is, but at least for 18 months anyway.
Right. All I'm going to say, Mark, is, right, and this is the first time we have spoken about this, right, because I was spitting fellers with your performance on Monday, right, because I've got to say, mate, you were shying away from the real issues, weren't you? You really were. So we're going to tackle them. We're going to tackle them here and now. Okay?
Good, because I actually kept my powder dry for our show.
Right, fair enough. So now we can have a frank and open discussion. And all I'm going to say is, and hopefully Saints fans have been able to listen to this interview, but basically Martin Simmons gave an interview to Adam Blackmore from BBC Radio Solent on Saturday. And the only thing I took from the interview was basically that when it comes to youngsters, we're still a showcase football club.
Yep.
Right? So we're showcasing people's talents so that the young academy players or young players like Diallo, for example, I'm just using that as an example, when they've had, say, 2 years at the club and people have stood up and took notice. Hopefully people are already standing up and taking notice of him. He can be sold on for a huge profit for the football club. Not a problem. Not a problem in the current financial situation, right? But listen, right? The issue that I have is at what stage, right? And I understand that we need to recoup money at the minute, but I'd like to think at some stage we're going to stop selling and start building a team, right? That's the first point on that. Getting on the Danny Ings, and this is where it's going to get interesting, right? The thing is he turned around and said that the club are comfortable, Danny's comfortable, he's always the first person to stick his hand up. He was the first person to stick his hand up during the coronavirus. And that's great, not an issue. Good to see him do it. That's fantastic. But Mark, there was something that was totally wrong in that interview, right? And it was totally wrong in that interview.
Okay,
and that was when Martin Simmons turned around and he said, Danny's comfortable with the situation, the club's comfortable with the situation, right? My question to Martin Simmons would be, is the club still going to be comfortable come the summer, right?
Yep.
Say middle of June, July, right? And a contract offer that was made hasn't been signed. Are the clubs still going to be comfortable then? Because trust me, if there's a year left in his contract this summer, they will not let it run out for the 18 months. I don't believe that for love or money in the current climate.
So
they're going to try and get what money they can and try and reinvest it in a striker.
Yeah. For anybody who hasn't heard the interview and doesn't understand it, I will lay it out for you in black and white exactly what was said. Martin Simmons basically said, at this moment in time, Danny Ings is focused on playing matches and scoring goals. He's not concerned about talking about his contract at this moment in time, doesn't want to talk about his contract at this moment in time, hasn't put any financial pressure on the club regards to money he wants. It's not about that. At this moment in time, he's focusing on playing games. He's focusing on scoring goals. He's not interested in discussing his contract. That tells me Danny Ings is quite happy to let his contract run down for 18 months and then depart. Fair enough, that's his prerogative. But all I'm going to say is, he says he's happy to stay at Saints. Very simple for me on this one, Mark. If you're happy to stay at Saints, Danny, you'll sign the contract. It's as simple as that. I don't want to hear all the other stuff from Martin Simmons. I don't want to hear all the other faff from everyone else. Sorry, Saints fans, if this offends you, but this is bottom line, black and white, as crystal clear as it gets. If you're happy at Saints, Danny Ings, you sign the contract. It's that simple.
No, I agree. But for the club, for Martin Simmons to come out and say the club's comfortable, Danny's staying here for 18 months. You and I both know come the summer that won't be the case. If that contract's not signed in the summer, Saints will be looking.
And another thing as well, Saints fans, and Martin Simmons, if you happen to listen in at any point, Martin, please listen to this very carefully. If Jamie Vardy was to leave Leicester tomorrow and he was 27 years old and in the form he's in at the moment, that Danny Ings is in, you'd be asking for 50, 60 million pounds to replace him. Now let that sink in. It's going to cost you 50, 60 million quid, Saints, to replace Danny Ings in the form he's in at the moment, at the age he's at the moment. Have you got that sort of money? I don't think you have. So I agree with Mark. In the summer, you're not going to be sat there thinking, we're not worried about the fact Danny hasn't signed a contract. Damn well you're going to be worried, because I am.
Yeah, and so am I.
I'll be very disappointed if they don't deal with it and he does leave at the end of that 18 months. That's his prerogative, but I'll be very disappointed after everything the club have said and everything he said. And if you're happy at the club, Danny, sign the deal. I don't see what the hurdle is.
Yeah.
If you're happy, you sign the contract. James Walker's done it. Stuart Armstrong's done it. Jan Bednarek's done it. They've all signed on because they're happy at the club.
I know. I mean, all I'm going to say is, and like I say, that this is a supporters or a fans, show or podcast, right? So it's purely from our own points of view. Yeah, but the thing is for me is, fine that everybody's comfortable, but if he hasn't signed that contract in the summer, right, he has to be sold because Saints need money at the moment. Let's not kid ourselves. It's not like there's going to be a mad influx of money in the summer and we're going to be able to go out and sign a fullback or a striker or whatever's needed. So, I'm sorry if this offends people, but the reality even for me is that if Danny hasn't signed this contract by the summer, he'll get sold. Yeah, and he should get sold because I recognise that we are in financial difficulties at the moment. All
I will say to the club is you're not going to replace Danny Ings for 20 million quid, I'll tell you that now. For nothing. You won't replace it for 20 million quid, I'll tell you that now. Anyway, moving on. Damari Gray's made it very clear he's going to turn down Southampton and Newcastle and whoever else are interested and move abroad somewhere. Fair enough. And Man United's Brandon Williams being chased by Newcastle and Southampton. Yeah, and I'm swear I've just seen a herd of flying monkeys.
Right. So just to cover Damari Gray, look, we always suspect that after last week that this was on the cards, because I said to you, as soon as it was mentioned that we're not moving for him to the summer, right? I said to you, right, we are in a London bus queue right at the back of it. Then, do you remember me saying that? And basically, as things have developed this week, it's obvious now that there's a queue of teams that are willing to pay the £2 million that Leicester want for him because he's out of contract in the summer, and because we're in the situation we are financially, we can't even afford £2 million. We're looking at bringing in loan players. So Damari Gray won't be happening. And then Brandon Williams, I mean, I hope it happens because we've seen the deficiencies. If we're talking about Tuesday night, we've seen the deficiencies at fullback. He can play left or right back. He's kind of a must-have if the loan deal can be struck. But obviously there's other people in the queue as well. But I would have liked to have thought that seeing as we were one of the first clubs to show an interest, we'll get dibs on him if United want to play ball.
Yeah, there's an exclusive, Mark, that I've just become aware of. There's an exclusive being reported by The Athletic. One of the Saints Academy youngsters, Alexander Yankovic, is actually handing in a transfer request.
See, now that is disappointing because he was probably one of the more promising players that we did have on the pitch.
He's actually the next player that Ralph was touting to actually break through. So there you go. That's a shame, mate. That's disappointing news.
I tell you what, if Ralph has just written that, or has just seen that, not written it, sorry, if Ralph's just seen that, it'll feel like a kick to the stomach, mate. It's difficult enough when you're trying to build stuff, and then
Mark, you and I have not seen we've not seen him play in the first team yet, but I'm actually disappointed by that.
But having said that, maybe he wants to move back to Switzerland or France. I know he's a Swiss national.
In fairness to him, it shows hunger to want to play, doesn't it? So, fair play to him. Can't fault him for that.
All right.
So,
yeah.
It's a real shame.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it yet, but it is disappointing that someone who's developed, and obviously, I'm kind of with you with him. He looks like he's one of the more promising prospects that we've got, and then to lose him, it's sad. Yeah.
I think the other issues as well. I think he's a midfielder, if I remember rightly, Yankovic.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, central midfielder.
At the moment, you've got three midfielders ahead of him who are playing quite well. To be fair, in Ward-Prowse, Diallo, and Romeo. So it's a bit difficult for him, isn't it? But it's a real shame, I think.
Yeah.
But moving on to slightly more positive news. Stuart Armstrong's excited for Saints' future. Ralph has confirmed that Fraser Forster will remain as Saints' top cup keeper. Well, I would suggest if Alex McCarthy carries on doing the sort of things he did on Tuesday, Fraser won't just be the keeper for the FA Cup, Mark.
I mean, all I'm going to say is just on those two stories very quickly. So Stuart Armstrong, he's excited about the future. Okay, Stuart. I mean, this was from an article that he did for the program last night. Basically, he's excited for the future. Obviously, he's just recently signed his new contract and all the rest of it. But obviously, he must be looking at it and thinking to himself, well, Danny Ings hasn't committed yet. Maybe I shouldn't be too excited yet. Let's see what happens. But, the thing is, on the face of it, and this is sort of what's upsetting, is we're building something. There's loads of the first teamers that have all signed new contract. So they're certainly buying into the Ralph Hasenhüttl project, and let's hope that, there's more to come on that front. But fair enough. And then Fraser Forster, keeper for the FA Cup, not a problem for me. I mean, it's about, they're two able keepers, so it's about trying to keep both of them happy so that they're both on board at the moment. So, not a problem with that at all.
Yep. So move on to the next story, which relates to Banks seeing Southampton as high risk. This is quite actually bad news in the long run, Mark. And this is from finance expert and football insider Kieran Maguire, speaking exclusively after Southampton revealed they were borrowing 78.8 million from MSD Holdings at a rate of 9.14% in order to cover pandemic-related losses. Yeah. Tottenham actually took out a £175 million Bank of England loan with 0.5% interest. Arsenal borrowed 120 million at what's presumed to be a similar rate. Maguire, while Saints are high flying this season, the long-term future of the club's not secure enough for banks to grant them as favourable a loan as they have for less financially vulnerable clubs. Asked why this was the case and why they were borrowing at far greater rates than Spurs and Arsenal, Maguire said, "The difference with Southampton is that they wouldn't have qualified for the same loans because they've been losing money in recent years and wouldn't have ticked the good financial management box. The Bank of England's looking at the risk involved when it considers these loans. Also, from a risk point of view, they're having a fantastic season, but if you're looking at the start of the season at the pool of clubs who could potentially go down, Southampton would probably be in that group. They've been fantastic so far and deservedly at the top end of the division, but if I was a lender, I might be thinking, what happens if Danny Ings leaves in the summer? He's been instrumental for them. If he and Ward-Prowse leave, you can see them being down there again." Do you know what? That it's just seriously worrying situation. You know, we're all led to believe the club's been well managed over the last few years. To hear a football expert and insider saying, actually, they've been losing money in recent years from a financial management point of view, they're not viewed in a great way. Really bad news, isn't it? Because we've been here before.
Well, we knew that that's been the case for the last few years, because it isn't just the people that are running the club at the moment, is it? You know, the thing is like.
Well, we both said it, didn't we? £1 million investment in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, therein lies your problem. You know, you got an owner that is very much hands off and isn't really interested. And the thing is I don't want us to get to the situation where we're desperate.
Yeah.
You know, and he's desperate for the money and he wants to sell, and then he ends up selling to the wrong people. You know,
exactly.
But let's hope that in some way it can be resolved. But the other thing I want to say is, you know, when you look at the financial picture, it does show what a great job Ralph's actually doing. Right. Because like you say, you know, the thing is that, you know, we're only one or two players away maybe from being down amongst the dead men and stuff like that there. And you know, for Ralph to be able to get a tune out of players that, you know, at the end of the day, some of them look like they were going to be leaving the football club, you know, and he's managed to turn all that around. And, you know, we've got them playing as a unit. It says a lot for Ralph's management and coaching abilities to be able to do that. Absolutely.
Well, slightly better news. I'm moving on to the next article, and the fact that Saints are 4th in the Sustainability League. So at least they're in top 5 of something.
I was really shocked when I read this because, mind you, the table's slightly misleading because they're actually 6th.
Yeah, it's a strange table.
A score of 18. I mean, I'm not sure how they actually scored the points, but when I sat there and I thought about it, I thought, well, if the Saints people who do the renewable stuff, you know, are reading this, obviously they're sat there thinking, oh, this is great news, you know. But you know, fair play to them. I have noticed that obviously when I get my what is it? I usually have a pie. And it's usually served in one of these sort of reusable container type things. So yeah, I mean it's good to see them up there, and obviously we're making a conscious effort to sort of save the planet.
Yeah, and I think it's something that has to be done, isn't it? I mean, it goes along with the carbon footprint and everything else. It's all about being sustainable. It's all about that now, isn't it? There's a massive drive to be carbon neutral and sustainable and everything else. So yeah, it's good to see them doing that, Mark. You know, at least we know there's something they're doing well. Yeah. Anyway, moving on from there, it's time to do the two Saints preview of Saints versus Aston Villa and Manchester United versus Saints. So last time out at Aston Villa, Mark, Southampton 2, Aston Villa 0. Saints secured a vital win, and in the following fixture, it was the James Ward-Prowse show. 2 free kicks in the first half, which eventually led Saints to an absolutely scintillating, because it was a great game, to be fair. It was a 7-goal thriller, 4 of those by Saints and 3 from Villa, 2 free kicks from Ward-Prowse. Cool. What a game that was. So 2 back-to-back wins basically against them.
Yeah.
So
First time,
3 on the trot.
first time with 2 free kicks in the first half. And I think it was goals from Vestergaard and Danny Ings. Obviously, that completed the 4-3 win. Also, I just wanted to go back to the 2-0 win at St Mary's last season.
Shane and Stuart Armstrong scored both goals in that game.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because obviously, sometimes he gets a bit of a hard task, and obviously it's good to see that he scored. Pity I haven't probably seen him score since, but there you go. But and he signed a new contract on the same terms, which you can't believe, but there you go, for another 2 years. But yeah, so apart from that, was at the game. Saints were in control, and as was seen, I mean, it was a goal fest at Villa Park this season. Basically, I thought we were in control of the game, and then I think I'm right in saying, was it Bednarek went off with concussion, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, I'm just looking at that game now, actually. So, where is it? Yeah, Yannick Vestergaard scored after 20 minutes with a bullet header. James Ward-Prowse then took over on his 26th birthday. So he became the first player in Premier League history to score 2 direct free kicks on the 33rd and 45th minute. In the first half of the game to put his side in control for Danny Ings, long-range curler made it 4-0 30 minutes after half-time. And as it says, despite Tyrone Mings' header, Ollie Watkins' penalty and Jack Grealish's clever finish, it was a little too late for the home side, slipped down to 6th in the table. It doesn't actually mention...
And I think I'm right. You're
probably right, but it doesn't mention the concussion.
So he was taken off with concussion, and on came Jack Stevens. And obviously, this isn't a criticism of Jack, but obviously if you have a starting 11 and they start and you're having to make an enforced substitution, it probably does upset the equilibrium of the team. So, did well probably to come away with a win, because they were, if I remember rightly, they were pressing us quite a bit for the equaliser. Did well to come away with the win, yeah. So, anyway, going on to my prediction. Who knows? I mean, fella, before tonight's game, I just want to say this. Fella, obviously, if they had a 1 or 2 games in hand, they would have went above Liverpool in the table, right? Now, they lost tonight, as far as I know. They lost to Burnley 3-2. I might be wrong. I'm sure you'll correct me. But I think they lost 3-2 tonight to Burnley. And who knows, if that's the case, who knows what the score is going to be, on Saturday night. I'm going to go for a Saints win, Mark, because I think the thing is, we'll have Ryan Bertram certainly back. I'm fairly optimistic that, Kyle Walker-Peters is going to be back, so we're not going to have the fullbacks that we had last night. And I'm going to say that we're going to win the game. We're going to get back to winning ways, because I think it's important in the league. And I'm going to go with 2-1 Saints win.
I'm going to go 3-2 Saints.
Okay.
I think there's goals in it. Villa have got something about them to get goals. They are a threat. And it's that man Grealish who Saints never mark. No matter when we play them, they never mark him.
I know,
just a threat, they never mark him. So I can see that.
The only other thing I would say is Aston Villa, basket case of a club last season, went out and spent astronomical amount of money. They've gone out and spent money this season, but it's been very much structured. I do worry for us in this fixture, although I'm going for us to win. Because the thing is, Ollie Watkins, who Saints admired for a long time, never made a move for him, even when he was at Exeter. Yep. I do think that he does make a difference for them up front. Even Traore, who used to be at Chelsea, who came in the summer, Bernard Traore, I think his name is. I mean, he's starting to make his mark in the Villa team now as well. So it'll be a tough game, but like I said, I think 2-1. Going Saints 2-1 anyway.
Yep, we'll go for the Saints win. So 3-2 for me, 2-1 for Mark. And that moves us on to the preview of Saints versus Man United. So, yeah, another easy fixture. They're all easy in the Premier League, aren't they? So
it's funny, man. It's funny, right? Because I think we should be on a revenge mission. We're 2-0 up against them in the home match this season. And we'll let them back in. Basically, the Cavani substitution, but unfortunately, both for the goals, there's nobody anywhere near them, marking them or anything like that there. And you just you can't afford to do that with an experienced striker like that.
And to be fair, you would say that both games we played against them, because obviously it was 2-2 against them, late equalisers from Saints denied United moving into the top 4, and that was 2-2. And then we played them at home and lost 3-2. Both games were really close, weren't they? And we could have won either game, to be fair.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I mean, the thing is if I remember rightly from the Old Trafford game, I mean, Stuart Armstrong scores the goal, and you're kind of sat there and you're thinking, actually, from the early exchanges, it looked very much like we were taking the game to them, and I thought we were playing really well. What I would say is that obviously United then grew into the game, and they took the 2-1 lead, but then thankfully, what was it, 6th minute into overtime or extra time or whatever you want to call it, injury time, Michael Omafemi pops up. I think it was more or less his first touch on the ball, scores the goal. But what I was going to say, Mark, was, I want to give one little air of hope, and that is that, United this season, I'm not that convinced about their home form in the league. I think they're a much more better away team. I think they like a counter-attack away from home. But at home, I mean, we've seen Crystal Palace beat them at home. So there is an opportunity. I'm not necessarily saying that we're going to win the game, but there is an opportunity. I'm just saying that there is an opportunity there. And like I keep saying, no team is particularly consistent. And that's why you've got so many clubs up there. I mean, even if we win Saturday, and then, we'd move up the 8th again, and you beat, if they were to miraculously beat United at Old Trafford, that would put us right back in contention again, So, who knows?
Come on, Saints, 2 back-to-back wins would be brilliant. So I'm going for 1-0, Mark.
You're going for 1-0. Right. 1-0 to who, though?
1-0 to Saints. And sneak a 1-0 at Old Trafford.
Yeah, man. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. He was on the sauce beforehand. But what was I going to say? I'm going to go 1 each, I think. 1 each is where I'm going.
Okay, sounds good to me. So there we go. We've got 3-2 and 2-1 win for Saints. So either of those two against Villa. And a 1-0 for me and a 1-0 for Mark against Man United. So we'll see how that goes. So that brings us to an end today for the Two Saints show. So thanks for joining myself, Mark C, and my co-host, Mark H. It's goodbye from me.
Yeah, and it's goodbye from me. And I just hope that, until you hear from us next week, take care of each other and be careful out there.
Absolutely right. Just to remind you all, you can contact us via our email address, the Two Saints Podcast Show at outlook.com, for questions or items you'd like to hear in future shows. You can listen to the radio show on Fiesta 95 FM in Southampton and via onlineradiobox.com. Also, the Two Saints Podcast Show is now available via Spotify, SoundCloud, Overcast, Acast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music and Podbean, or via our Facebook page, The Two Saints Show, and our YouTube channel, The Two Saints Podcast Show. So, my final word on today is thank you very much for joining us, and please join us again next week when the Two Saints go marching in. Goodbye for now.
Bye for now.